Hi, it's Mr. Day, and today we're going to work on graphing systems of equations to find the solution if it exists. First things first, let's create a space for the problem so that we can work in it properly. Systems of equations come in pairs usually. There may be more, but they usually come together. And that means they're hard to work with because there's no room to work on them. So what we've done is taken each equation and written it down separately. X minus 3y equals 7 and 2x minus 3y equals -1. So what this does is allows us to have the space to work in so we can solve each of those, convert them, find the slope, and find the y-intercept, which we can use to then graph. Let's do it. So the first one, x minus 3y equals -7, needs to be converted. We want to make it come in the form y equals mx plus b. So the first thing we got to do is some basic algebra. We want to subtract x on both sides. And we rewrite it, minus 3y equals, now I'm going to write minus x plus 7. Some of you were tempted, I know, to write 7 minus x, but we want to put it in the mx plus b format right from the start as much as possible. So right now we've put it with the x right hugging the equal sign and the number to the right of it, and that's going to make it easier for us when we want to solve for m and b. The second equation, we want to subtract 2x on both sides. And then we're left with minus 3y equals minus 2x minus 1. Again, we want to keep the x close to the equal sign and the number to the right of that. So that's the mx plus b format. We're not done yet. We need to divide some numbers, and we're going to get fractions, but we could go straight towards it. Don't fear fractions in any way. We're going to divide by -3 on all sides, both sides, and the easiest thing to do is do it individually. And now we're going to look at what this means. There's a double negative, first of all, so that's going to be positive. And we want to look at the fact that this is actually an invisible one right here. So this is becoming simpler. This is positive 1/3 x, and this is -7/3 because we have a positive and a negative, and when you have a positive and a negative, it becomes negative. So that's our basic information for this question, or for this equation. Now this one, we're dividing by -3. And we end up with y equals 2/3 x plus 1/3. Again, double negatives, a negative divided by a negative is positive, so we end up with that. Now we need to go with this right here and take the information from here and create a graph. What we're going to need is m and b, and how do we get that from these equations? Let's look at doing that. Red. So you see how the colors line up with the actual numbers, and in this case, m is equal to 1/3, m equals 1/3, and b equals -7/3, -7/3, okay? So that's the information we need in order to solve, or to graph that equation. Now we've got another equation, similarly, just for m, it's 2/3. This time I just see that, right? That's where m goes, and then b is 1/3. So, all right, we're ready to graph. We have the information we need. We just have to convert it into a form we can use. So right here we have the slope and the y-intercept, and this y-intercept is actually a point. It says -7/3, but all the points on the y-intercept line on the y-axis have 0 as an x-coordinate, and -7/3, 0, 0, -7/3 is that point where that line crosses the y-axis. Remember, with fractions, we can convert. So -7/3 is actually -2 1/3. You can see that going backwards easier than this way. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 7, and we get that conversion factor giving us the -2 1/3. And the point will be right down here, 1, 2 down here, -2 and 1/3. I'll draw it right there, -2 and 1/3. So that's the point, 0, -2 and 1/3. And then for the next point, we use rise over run, and we go up 1/3. 1 up to the right 3 because it's 1/3. So 1 up is here, 1, 2, 3 is there, and we draw our line right on through there. And this one's going to have to be extended quite a long way in order for us to have the lines cross, but we'll get to that. So now we go to the other equation, which gave us slope of 2/3, and 1/3 is our y-intercept. So with a different color. So we're going to put the y-intercept down at 0, 1/3, and then we're going to move 2 up, right? 2 1/3. 1 up there would be there, and another would be there. And then over 3 again, and we get this point here. So we have a rise of 2, a run of 3. Similarly, we had a rise of 1 there, and we create these triangles to show rise over run, and then we join this up here, and moving right along, as we can see, we eventually get a place where these 2 lines meet. It's a point right there, and we can estimate it. It's something like -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, and then -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, maybe -7. So look, we don't know the exact -6, -7. Graphing is not the exact way to find the solution, but there is a way to solve systems of equations to get the exact coordinate where they meet. We're not doing that in this video, but it is possible. Yeah, there it is, folks, in all of its glory, a system of equations problem solved by graphing 2 lines, finding out where they intersect. I may do add that it does not always have to intersect. I just want to add that, remember, we may not find a solution. 2 points don't always meet, and therefore they live parallel lives. In other words, when we have parallel lines, there is no solution. When we get infinite solutions, it's because the 2 lines are exactly the same. They're on top of each other. There are a lot of parallels in philosophy to this. If you're interested, we can talk more. Let me just say this. Do you know of anybody you've never met? Can you think of somebody you've never met? Of course, you can't think of them because you've never met them, unless you go online and look at their profile or something. And what you could say is that they might be living a parallel life to you, very similar, but in a way that is impossible for you to meet them. That would be no solution in the sense that there's no way you can meet them, and therefore you'll never meet. Are there people in your life that you will always be connected to? Whether they live or die, your family is something that you're always connected to on one level or another. So you could say, in a sense, there's infinitely many solutions and infinitely many times you can meet with family. This is just kind of a philosophical way to do things. When 2 people meet, that's a place where solutions are possible. Things can happen. All good. All right, have a good one and enjoy learning this problem and many more. Bye for now.